Okay, I am here in 7.2 day 5 CAMI assignment. I'm going to solve numbers 1 and 2 in this video, and then you'll solve the last 4. So I want to show all my work to solve the equation. I see there are fractions in this equation, and so I want to multiply both sides of my equation by some number so that my fractions turn to integer terms. So I'm going to look at the denominators. These denominators are the same. This denominator is 7, and this denominator is 7. And so what I should do is multiply both sides of the equation by that denominator to turn the fractions to integers. So because I'm going to multiply the left side by some number, I'm going to put it in parentheses, and I'm going to multiply the right side by some number. So I'm going to put it in parentheses as well. And that number I'm going to multiply by is 7, or 7 over 1. I'm going to write 7 as a fraction because I am going to be multiplying fractions and cross-simplifying. So I multiply the left side by 7 and the right side by 7. Now I follow my 5 steps to solve equations. Let's distribute. Be sure you distribute to both terms inside the parentheses. And since you are multiplying the left side by 7 and the right side by 7, you are basically multiplying every term in the entire equation by 7. So make sure you multiply every term by 7. So 7 times 3/7. I'm going to write 7 over 1 times 3/7. I'm going to go back later and cross simplify that. Then I also multiply 7 times 2x. 7 times 2x is positive 14x. Okay, don't forget your variable. I bring my equal sign straight down, and I also distribute on the right side. So 7 times 4x, that is 28x. Don't forget your variable. Notice also how I'm showing the rainbow to distribute. Then I have 7 times this term, which is a positive 5/7. So I have positive 7 over 1 times 5/7. Okay, now I'm going to go through and cross simplify. Okay, so I have on the left side, I have 7 times 3/7. I see that I have a 7 in the top and a 7 in the bottom. So these would cross simplify to 1, right? Because 7 over 7 is 1. So I have 1 times 3, that is 3. I'm going to bring the positive 14x down. So I'm going to write plus 14x. Bring the equal sign down and bring the 28x term down as well. Let's cross simplify here. Again, I have 7 over 7. And so I cross simplify those 7s to 1 over 1. And so I have 1 times 5, which is positive 5. And so as you can see, because we multiplied both sides of the equation by 7 and we cross simplified our fractions, now in my equation I have all integer terms and I'm no longer dealing with fractions, which is much cleaner to deal with. So now I'm going to, after I eliminate parentheses, I see combine like terms. I look on the left, no like terms. Then I look right, no like terms. So step 3, get the variable on one side. Let me get the x term on the right side so that my x term will be positive. So I undo the addition by subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 14x from both sides. Again, notice how I'm subtracting 14x, not 14, 14x. There is an x in that term, and therefore it must be subtracted. So those 14x terms cancel. So you're left with 3 on the left side, and 28x minus 14x is 14x. I bring the plus 5 down. So because my variable is on the right side, I get this number, the positive 5. I need to get that to the left side. So I undo the addition by subtraction. So I subtract 5 from both sides so that those 5s will cancel. 3 minus 5, of course, is negative 2. I bring my equal sign down, and I have 14x on the right side. So I have variable on one side, numbers on the other. Fifth and final step is to solve. I solve by undoing the multiplication by division. I divide both sides by what we call the coefficient, which is the number being multiplied by the variable. So I'm going to divide the right side by 14 and the left side by 14 so that these 14s simplify to 1. And so x is equal to negative 2 over 14. Now pay very careful attention here. I saw this mistake quite a bit, and I don't want you to continue making this mistake. This is negative 2/14. this number is less than 1, right? The numerator is smaller than the denominator. So your answer here is not negative 7. It's not negative 7. If it was 14 over 2, yeah, 14 divided by 2 is, or negative 14 divided by 2 is negative 7. But this is 2/14, okay? So we need to simplify the fraction here. We always want the fraction in simplest form. And so because 2 and 14 are both even, we know that we can divide the top and the bottom by 2. And so we would say this is negative. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 14 divided by 2 is 7. So this is our answer with the fraction in simplest form. Negative 2/14, when we simplify it, is negative 1/7. And so that is what x is equal to. Don't be thrown off if your variable is equal to some fraction. That's going to happen more and more as we move into our next chapter when we start solving systems of equations. So x equals negative 1/7. Circle your final answer. Number 2, I have an equation with fractions in it. And so I want to multiply both sides of my equation by some number so that my fractions are no longer fractions, but are integers. I'm going to look at my denominators. My denominators are 10, 2, and 5. So unlike the previous problem where the denominators were all the same, here they are not the same. And so what I need is the LCM, the least common multiple of those denominators, or you could say the least common denominator. Okay, so that would be what? Well, 10, right? 10 would be the least common multiple. Again, you can make a list. You could use ladder method, all strategies we have used in the past to determine the least common multiple. So what I'm going to do is multiply the left side by 10. So I'm going to put it in parentheses. So 10 or 10 over 1. And I multiply the right side by 10 or 10 over 1 as well. Because again, the golden rule for equations is whatever you do to one side, you must also do the same thing to the other side. So let's distribute 10 times 3/10 c. So I have 10 over 1 times 3/10 c. Don't forget your variable. I also have 10 times 1/2. So positive 10 over 1 times 1/2. I'll go back later and cross simplify them. I'll bring my equal sign down. Then I have 10 times 2/5 c. So 10 over 1 times 2/5 c. Don't forget your variable. Then I have 10 times 2. That is positive 20. Okay, so like I did, I multiplied every term in the equation by 10, and I showed how I was going to multiply 10 by that fraction, okay? I would not suggest cross-simplifying in your mind, okay? I would write it down and then go back like I am doing and now cross-simplify. So 10 over 10, that's 1. So you have 1 times 3c, which is 3c. You have 10 over 2. That's 5, right? Or 5 over 1. So you have 5 times 1, that's positive 5. Bring your equal sign down. Here you have, here you have 10 over 5. 10 over 5, or 10 divided by 5, that is 2. So I cross simplify to 2, or 2 over 1. So you're left with 2 times 2c, that's 4c. And then you still have the plus 20. So now, as you can see, once you cross simplify your fractions, you're left with an equation with no fractions in it. This looks much nicer, and you should feel very comfortable from this point solving. So I did step 1. I eliminated the parentheses by the distributive property. Step 2, I would combine like terms. On the left, there are no like terms. On the right, there are no like terms. So I'm on to step 3, get the variable on one side. So let's get the c term on the right side so that your c term is positive. So I'm going to move 3c to the other side by subtraction so that these 3c's cancel. I'll bring the 5 straight down, bring my equal sign straight down. 4c minus 3c, that's 1c, or just c. I bring the plus 20 down. So because c, my variable, is on the right side, this number needs to go to the other side. So I undo addition by subtraction. So those 20s cancel. 5 minus 20 is negative 15, right? Difference sign subtract, keep the big guy. And so c equals negative 15 circle final answer. Okay. So you should show your work just like I did. You try numbers 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then turn in when you're done. Once you turn it in, I'll take a look at it and I'll give you some feedback so that if you missed any, I will tell you how to make those corrections.